Netflix has already renewed You for a 4th season, and after the devastating season 3 finale, we've got a ton of theories about what comes next for Joe Goldberg. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'll be discussing the best theories and predictions for season 4 and beyond, and what the chances are that Joe's crimes will finally catch up with him. Spoilers and speculation ahead of course, so take care. The season 3 finale ends with Joe fleeing the US for France. However, there's a little clue in the final scene that hints it might not be as easy as Joe expects to escape the attention of his fellow countrymen when he overhears 2 Americans in the Parisian cafe talking about how so many New Yorkers have left the city. I think this is a big tease that we'll get to see some characters connected to Joe's old life in the Big Apple crossing paths with him in Paris. First of all, there's Ethan, Joe's colleague from Mooney's bookshop, his girlfriend Blythe, Beck's friends Annika and Lynn, and there's a Salinger family who we know from Peach owned an apartment there.
Cousin Inez finally vacated the Paris flat.
The Salingers also had a PI investigating the circumstances of Peach's death, who interviewed Joe in New York because they suspected some kind of foul play. Karen Minty, Joe's ex-girlfriend, also said she wanted to visit the French capital when Paco was talking about where in the world he'd like to go if he could go anywhere.
I would go to Paris.
Any of these people would surely recognise Joe if they came across him, and I wouldn't put it past him murdering any of them, or at least locking them up in a new cage or basement to stop his secret getting out. A character who's likely to come back into Joe's life is Ellie, who had to flee LA to get away from the Quinns after her sister Delilah's murder at the end of season 2. From the Sarasota postmark on the postcard that Joe received from her, she appears to have gone to Florida, and in season 3 Joe mentions that he's still secretly sending her money to keep her off the Quinns' radar.
I send the profits to Ellie.
Now, something to remember is that Ellie only knows Joe by his pseudonym Will, so she doesn't know his real name is Joe Goldberg. However, Ellie's pretty smart and savvy, so I think she would get suspicious when she hears news reports about Love Quinn killing Joe Goldberg and pictures start appearing of the apparently dead man she knows as Will. And if Joe keeps sending her money, I'm sure she'll figure out there's something iffy about what happened in Madre Linda. So I wouldn't be surprised if she started investigating things. She may even work out some details of Joe's murderous past in New York, because she was after all involved in the script rewrite of Forty's planned adaptation of Beck's book. During the crazy events of that night, Forty figured out that Dr. Nicky was actually innocent and that Beck's ex-boyfriend was the real killer.
He murdered her in a jealous rage and he framed Dr. Nicky.
How much of this epiphany did Forty share with Ellie? We don't know yet, but I suspect we may find out in season 4 or a future season.
I killed Henderson, and I don't feel guilty about it.
Leave a thumbs up if you'd like to see Ellie return. In the season 3 finale, we see Joe has a new alias, Nick, which could be a nod to Dr. Nicky, who he framed for Beck's murder in the season 1 finale. And I think we're still not done with Dr. Nicky's storyline in the series, because the way Joe plants a box with Natalie's teeth to ensure Love's blamed for the carnage in Madre Linda is uncannily similar to the suggestion Beck had for framing Dr. Nicky in her book.
There's this part where I talk about a box of mementos that I found on Nicky's property. A jar of teeth.
What if someone on the Free Dr. Nicky subreddit reads details about Love Quinn's supposed murder-suicide and connects it with what happened to Dr. Nicky, and they figure out that it was really Joe behind the fatal stabbing of Ryan Goodwin, and now he's pinned that murder on his dead wife? Also, what about the Salinger family PI who didn't believe what he read in Beck's book that Dr. Nicky was guilty?
Maybe not everyone was completely convinced.
Although Dr. Nicky told Forty he didn't want to get involved in looking into Joe,
If he killed Beck, there's no telling what this man is capable of. He'll be punished, but not by us. Trust in divine justice.
perhaps he'll decide he's had enough now of being the fall guy for Joe's crimes in New York and will get someone to come after him, something Joe worried about briefly in season 2.
This is bad love. Plainclothes cop, Dr. Nicky. What's he got on me?
Joe's also in Paris, of course, because he's searching for Marienne, who fled after Love revealed that he'd been lying to her and had killed her ex-husband Ryan. Though we don't know for sure yet that Marienne's in France, it's certainly plausible, as she told Joe she was born in Paris and would go there to get away from her ex. Joe wonders at the end of season 3 whether he'll be able to win Marienne back and convince her that Love's warnings were wrong. However, I think Marienne understands now just how toxic Joe is, as she already suspected it.
Something in me knew that it was too good to be true.
So I don't think she'll delude herself that he's a good guy in a bad situation, as Joe frequently tells himself. After all, she'll have likely seen the same news stories as everyone else about what happened, including Love's murder-suicide note and reports about DNA evidence showing Joe died in the fire. So if he suddenly turned up on her doorstep now, he wouldn't exactly look innocent, would he? Assuming that Marienne rejects Joe when he finds her, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts. And there's a possible hint in season 2.
In the end, our guy has to murder all 3 women. It's like the ultimate irony.
That was from 40's screenplay Bang, Marry, Kill, and it could be some deep foreshadowing of Joe's fate, as he's already killed 2 of the main women in his life, Beck and Love. Alternately, and perhaps optimistically, might Joe remember what he really thought about the ending of 40's screenplay?
That it sounds like the most anti-feminist horror film in history.
And if so, could he stop himself this time and find a way to let Marienne go? Or perhaps Marienne herself will find a way to put a permanent end to Joe's stalking days. Theo could also return in season 4 because he's got concrete video evidence that Joe was involved in his stepmother's murder, as he uncovered camera footage of him driving Natalie's car away on the day she disappeared. Theo may initially assume, like everyone else, that Joe is dead. However, there'll surely be traces of Joe moving around Madre Linda on the night of his supposed death on various cameras in the town, from either doorbell cams or street cameras recording him escaping his burning house. Although Love was responsible for Theo's injuries, he was infatuated with her.
I love you.
And if he suspects or figures out that Joe killed her, he might start looking to make him pay. It's interesting that as part of the story Joe crafted when he faked his own murder and Love's suicide, he decided to portray her as what he called
The Mrs. Lovett of Madre Linda,
by putting a piece of his own toe into a pie before burning the house down. In the musical version of the Sweeney Todd story, the serial-killing barber burns Mrs. Lovett alive, but then her young assistant Tobias, who's very attached to her, gets revenge for her murder by killing Todd. Another person who might have dirt on Joe is Love's mother, Dottie. We know the Quinn family shut down any investigation into Henderson's death, and they covered up Love's murder of the au pair years earlier. So it's reasonable that Dottie might know where the bodies of Love's other victims were buried. And what if she figures out that Joe might still be out there and was responsible for her daughter's death? Although her financial assets aren't what they used to be, she could still find a way to frame Joe for any of Love's crimes. There was also a cryptic moment in the second season when Dottie implied that the Quinns already had knowledge of some of Joe's dark secrets.
Your secrets are safe with us.
It's also entirely possible that Love herself had some kind of revenge planned for Joe in the event of her untimely death.
What did you do with her body? Or Delilah's?
I told you, I took care of it.
What if Love had set up a way for Joe to get the blame for Candace and Delilah's deaths in the event of her premature demise? Perhaps the location of their bodies, together with evidence that could incriminate Joe, will come to light. A kind of posthumous revenge on Joe for pinning everything that happened in Madre Linda on her, including the death of Ryan, which Joe carried out by himself, of course. Now, this next theory is a little crazy, but let's briefly entertain the possibility that Love is still alive. Could she, like Joe, have taken an antidote before being injected with aconite so that after he left the burning house, she too was able to get out of there? If so, she'd have to lay low, as everyone's seen her fake confession to the murders of Natalie and Ryan. I don't think this theory is very plausible, as it would diminish the season 3 ending. However, crazier things have happened on TV, so I wouldn't discard it entirely if the writers wanted to introduce a huge twist in season 4 or later, where Love suddenly bursts back into Joe's life seeking revenge. What I think's much more likely, though, is that we'll see Love return in season 4 as part of a hallucination that Joe has, similar to the one that he had of Beck in season 2, or the one Love had of 40 this season. And I break down Love's death and the shocking finale in a lot more detail in my season 3 ending explained video. Tap here to watch that, or follow the link in the video description. So do you have any theories or predictions for season 4, and do you think Joe will eventually get caught? If so, how? Comment with all your ideas below, and if you enjoyed this, then a like and a share are hugely appreciated. You can tap left for my full You playlist, where I'll be adding my next You video with the Easter eggs you missed in season 3, or tap right for my ending explained. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!